My elder sister disliked conflict. Yet she became empress. Unexpectedly. After 3 months of pregnancy, she suffered a sudden miscarriage. She claimed the imperial consort had caused it. So I laced the consort's snail shell powder with poisonous herbs, disfiguring her and costing her the emperor's favor. But when my sister discovered this, she slapped me, cursing my cruelty, and reported it to the emperor. In the end, I was cast into the imperial household department, tortured and defiled by depraved eunuchs. Meanwhile, her reputation as kind and virtuous spread throughout the palace, making her the virtuous empress she had always dreamed of becoming. When I awoke again, I found myself back on the day my elder sister miscarried. Oh dear. How could my sister have miscarried over a few bites of hawthorn cake? She was far too greedy. Consort Yen feigned sorrow, her eyes brimming with amusement, leaving my elder sister Hua Qianrui pale with fury. The emperor remained silent, only casting a faint glance at Hua Qianrui, clearly disapproving. He had never favored her. And now, seeing her unable to protect even her child, he only deemed her incompetent. Watching this familiar scene unfold, I felt nothing but bewilderment. Only when the coldness of the floor touched my knees did reality sink in. Had I been reborn? At the same time, my elder sister turned to me with pitiful eyes. I instantly realized she was waiting for me to stand up for her. In my previous life, that's exactly what I had done. I immediately dragged Consort Yen into the matter. After all, she knew the palace maid who delivered the pastries. Suspicion was inevitable. Since that was the case, I might as well muddy the waters. But the next day, Hua Qianrui suddenly knelt before the emperor, declaring she had failed to discipline her subordinates properly. She even asked me in disappointment why I had dared to defy my superiors, speaking to the consort and the emperor in such an aggressive manner, violating propriety and etiquette. I was completely dumbfounded. The emperor merely tugged at the corner of his mouth, glancing at me with an expression as if watching a play. Then, in a tone laced with regret, he remarked, "The empress is so magnanimous. What a pity she has such an ill-mannered servant." With that, he strode away. Hua Qianrui, disappointed, accused me of being unable to distinguish right from wrong. She punished me by making me kneel outside the palace gates for an entire night, exposed to the stares and mockery of passing palace attendants. That night, I lost all dignity. My legs were left with a chronic ailment, throbbing unbearably whenever rain clouds gathered. At first, I harbored doubts. But later, when Hua Qianrui learned my legs were beyond healing, she wept even more bitterly than I. She claimed she punished me harshly only because she feared the emperor would inflict even greater punishment upon her. I looked at her, and in the end, could only sigh, thinking her too weak, so powerless. Moreover, when I attempted suicide, it was Hua Qianrui who saved me, bringing me back to the courtyard for shelter, sparing me further torment at the hands of those cruel servants. That kindness remains etched in my heart, forever remembered. I even felt that being ground down among such villains had darkened my own heart. How could I ever doubt the light that once saved me? That's why I'm constantly plagued by guilt. But only after death did I learn the truth. Mother's death was caused by my elder sister declaring a concubine unworthy of charcoal. Not only did she order the charcoal taken away, she had Mother's legs broken. As a result, Mother froze to death in the snow. And the reason I was bullied? She told the cruel servants she disliked me. Those people, eager to curry favor with her, naturally tormented me mercilessly. All she needed to do was wait quietly. Wait until I was utterly desperate. Then step in to help. Then effortlessly turn me into a blade to charge into battle for her. Cough. Hua Qianrui shot me a pitiful glance. Just like in my past life. She lowered her head, biting her lip, waiting for me to charge forward for her. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. But my face showed only fear and concern. Hua Qianrui's eyes nearly burned holes through me, while I feigned deep concern, so much so that she clenched the quilt in fury. Finally, the emperor offered a few perfunctory words before departing with eager anticipation to the consort Yan's palace, eager to admire her newly learned song and dance. The matter was quietly shelved. The other consorts scattered like birds and beasts. In an instant, the room was empty, leaving only me and the palace maids like Shouju. The desolation made Hua Qianrui's already pallid face turn several shades paler. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke to me. Hua Jian, why didn't you speak up for me just now? Consort Yan clearly recognized that palace maid delivering the pastries. Hua Qianrui's eyes brimmed with grievance. I tilted my head. So she knew about this after all. What did she do to deserve such misfortune in her past life? Sister, I simply felt this matter should be discussed with you first. After all, I'm just a palace maid. How could I publicly rebuke the emperor and the imperial consort? Wouldn't that be disrespectful and a breach of protocol? I looked at her, my eyes filled with earnestness. You were defending me. Who would accuse you of disrespect or protocol violations? Or have you now learned to play it safe, prioritizing your own interests over our sisterly bond? Her voice grew angrier as she spoke, tears falling one by one. And I only felt disgust. In this harem, who cares more about their own interests than she does? I clearly remember that after my death, my consciousness didn't fade. Out of concern, I went straight to her side. But what did she say then? Oh. She was lazily enjoying fresh watermelon while saying, dealing with Hua Jian is the emperor's fault. Who asked him to suddenly take an interest in her stubborn nature? Besides, her duties at the imperial household department are just scrubbing chamber pots, much easier than her previous life in the mansion. What? Eunuchs stripped her clothes and humiliated her with a wooden stick? So what? With father's cold-hearted nature, once he knew Hua Jian had caught the emperor's eye, he'd surely stop supporting me wholeheartedly. I had no choice but to sacrifice her. Besides, she was just a lowly servant's child, perfect for a eunuch. As for the food, she could eat it off the floor. She'd done worse before. Memories churned violently within me. My fingers couldn't resist rubbing the coarse hem of her skirt. Seeing my silence, Hua Qianrui grew impatient. Hua Jian, are you feeling guilty? Her face wore a look of hurt. Gazing at her fair, delicate features, I feigned remorse. I was merely pondering how to restore justice for you. Sister, why not this? I'll go tell the emperor everything now. Wait for me. Sister. With that, I turned to head for the door. But she seized my sleeve. Are you mad? The moment has passed. The emperor will surely treat her lightly. How could he punish her? I see. Sister truly understands the emperor's mind. Little sister has learned her lesson. My eyes brimmed with admiration. But she scowled and snapped. What nonsense! I am the empress. I wouldn't stoop to scheming for favor by guessing the emperor's whims. That's the sort of thing a concubine would do. Very well. I'll overlook this once. After all, we are sisters. I saved you because I couldn't bear to see my own sister suffer. Now, within these palace walls, you are the one I trust most. As she spoke, she wiped the corner of her eye. I didn't hear the rest of her insincere words. I couldn't help but look at the hand she used to pull me. In that instant, I suddenly realized. Every time she had taken my hand, she either placed a handkerchief between our skin or used her thumb and middle finger to pinch the sleeve of my robe. As if I were some kind of filthy thing. After putting on that show, Hua Qianrui finally quieted down. As her most trusted person, I went to the small kitchen to prepare her medicine. My gut told me something was off about Hua Qianrui's miscarriage. Before this, I handled everything for her. It was hard for others to interfere. Thinking this, I wrapped saffron in a mesh filter, tossed it into the pot, and stirred slowly. Only when the black liquid began bubbling did I remove the strainer, toss it into the flames, and watch it burn to ashes before presenting the potion to Hua Qianrui. The water was already muddy, might as well muddy it further. After this bowl, she'd likely never conceive again. Forget about becoming an empress. Impossible. She doesn't deserve it. Whose token did His Majesty draw tonight? After drinking the potion, she wiped her lips. I spoke softly, Consort Yen. I hear she was even granted a hot spring bath today. Thud. The porcelain bowl crashed onto the carpet. Hua Qianrui's face darkened. Even she, the empress, had only bathed in the hot springs once and never again afterward. Yet Consort Yen? She'd bathed in it countless times. Sure enough, Hua Qianrui grew even angrier. That slut has no manners. But how dare the emperor be so disrespectful too? She gritted her teeth. I merely watched her, my gaze indifferent, for I knew how desperately she clung to the title of virtuous empress. Alas, she wanted it all. Narrow-minded and lacking in ability, she craved not only reputation but also the emperor's favor. Thus, she was destined to gain nothing. Sure enough, in the dead of night, Hua Qianrui bled again. When the imperial physician arrived, he declared she had consumed vast quantities of extreme cold substances, making future conception unlikely. She collapsed. How could this be? Miscarriage is natural, why mention extreme cold substances? Her eyes red. She clutched the physician's sleeve desperately. The physician dared not speak. But I looked at her. Why did she say miscarriage is natural? Had the shock driven her mad? Seeing this, the physician hastily pulled free and fled in panic. Hua Qianrui's face turned ashen. An empress who could not bear children and had lost the emperor's favor, unable to attend to him for half a year. What this meant was self-evident. In that moment, fear finally gripped her, and she began to tremble uncontrollably. Her lips murmured incessantly, where did these bitterly cold substances come from? I knelt beside her, tears welling in my eyes, my gaze filled with heartache. I lifted my head to look at her, offering comfort. This angle captured my most beautiful form. Sure enough, upon seeing me, Hua Qianrui froze for a moment before finally calming down. Her eyes were bloodshot. It's all right. I will find a way. I will become the most virtuous empress of the Yen dynasty. For the next month, everyone in the palace walked on eggshells. The immense blow had left Hua Qianrui's cheeks gaunt, her eyes bloodshot. Yet she still insisted on feigning that detached, chrysanthemum-like demeanor, wearing a gentle smile that felt eerily unsettling. Simultaneously, her former reputation for beauty and virtue vanished. Some even whispered that the empress seemed on the verge of madness. Finally, after her postpartum confinement, Hua Qianrui returned to her throne to receive the concubine's greetings. The like sarcastic remarks from Consort Yen and her deliberate displays of imperial gifts made Hua Qianrui's suffering unbearable. She felt like grinding her teeth to dust. For those South Sea pearls, those brocades, even the empress herself possessed none. Yet a mere Consort Yen had more than she could ever use. Then, Consort Yen announced her pregnancy. She finally couldn't contain herself and turned her gaze upon me. I expected her to openly ask for my help, hoping I'd offer myself willingly. But instead, she had her personal maid, Xiuju, tell me she'd acquired some new bath beans and wanted me to test their fragrance. In that instant, I instantly understood her intent. Yet I still smiled and agreed, retreating behind the screen. Mist swirled in the air. Petals drifted on the water's surface, swaying in beautiful arcs. Suddenly, a door creaked open. I knew the emperor had arrived. But I didn't turn around. Instead, I offered a coy glance over my shoulder and asked in a sweet voice, "Sister, do you like this fragrance?" No sound came from behind me, but a hand slid over my shoulder. I pretended to be confused, turning my head to look up. There stood the Emperor, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder. A faint, mocking smile on his lips. "I never imagined you possessed such springtime beauty." Ah! In that instant, terror seized me. I sprang to my feet, ready to curtsy. My eyes filled with panic and dread. Tears welled in my eyes. The Emperor watched me, raising an eyebrow. Only then did I pretend to realize I was naked, covering my chest. I tried to retreat back into the water, but he seized my waist and pulled me directly into his embrace. So fragrant. He gently sniffed my neck, his voice slightly hoarse. "I like it very much." That night, the Empress summoned water 3 times. When the Emperor attended court, I could barely stand, only gazing at him with a pout. He smiled, pinched my nose, and told me to rest further. I suddenly clutched the hem of his robe. This was rather impolite, but I thought Hua Qianrui had said in a past life that he was interested in me. That meant he must have asked her for me. So naturally, he had some feelings for me. I could use this to test how much patience he had with me. Sure enough, his brow furrowed slightly. I bit my lip and said, "Your Majesty, your robe is wrinkled." After speaking, I quickly lowered my gaze, as if it were merely an unconscious display of dependence on him. After a few breaths, he gently stroked my head and murmured, "I knew you were bold. You'd confront anyone who wronged your elder sister. But I never expected such audacity toward the Emperor." Did the Emperor enjoy it? I lifted my head cautiously to look at him. He raised an eyebrow, his gaze deepening. "Enough. I must attend court. Stop teasing me." With that, he gave my head a hard rub before striding away. Only after his figure vanished completely did I climb off the bed. My face contorted in pain. It hurt like hell. Before I could even finish dressing, Hua Qianrui burst in with her maids. Seeing my state, she immediately began crying. "Hua Jian, I treated you with genuine kindness. If you harbored feelings for His Majesty, you could have told me. But how could you secretly seduce the Emperor behind my back?" I almost laughed. Sure enough, she truly was a hypocrite, a whore who still wanted to stand on a moral pedestal, using me to secure her favor, yet demanding I be disgraced, turned into a treacherous slave who climbs into another's bed. And trailing behind her were the maids from Consort Qin's quarters. Everyone in the palace knows, what Consort Qin learns, the entire palace learns. "Sister, last night you were the one who insisted I test the bath beans." Right after that, the Emperor entered. I looked at her, my eyes brimming with tears. She froze. Because normally, no matter how absurd her accusations, I never rebutted them. So she hadn't thought twice, assuming smearing me would be easy. But she never expected me to expose her outright. The harem isn't full of fools. Seeing this, the maid immediately lowered her head. Hua Qianrui's face darkened as she cut me off. "What nonsense are you spouting?" I pressed my lips together and said nothing more. Yet silence spoke volumes. Qin Pin's maid's eyes darted around frantically before she hastily made an excuse to leave. Hua Qianrui, who usually feigned kindness, couldn't afford to let her go and was desperate. Hesitating, the little maid had already bolted. She hadn't even waited for Hua Qianrui's permission. At that moment, Hua Qianrui finally broke down, dismissing all the maidservants. "Hua Jian, have you grown distant from your elder sister?" Her gaze was filled with suspicion, but I couldn't afford to quarrel with her just yet. Instead, I said sadly, "Sister, if you truly want me to secure your favor, You could have simply said so. Your younger sister would never refuse. But why? As I spoke, I began to sob softly. Her expression slowly softened. For I had never cried before her, this was the first time. Finally, she patted my sleeve soothingly. Feigning anger, Hua Jian. Don't be sad. I apologize. This was a misunderstanding on my part. Rest assured. I will uncover the truth and see justice done. But now the deed is done. From this day forward, I have only you. We must rely on each other. I understand. Sister. My eyes brimmed with sorrow. She continued. The emperor has already bestowed upon you the title of imperial consort Jowie. He praised you as a beauty, graceful and gentle, and granted you the character Qing, purity. Naturally, I shall have you reside in the Hawthorn Pavilion beside the imperial palace. As she spoke, she pinned a precious gold hairpin adorned with a ruby tassel to my hair. Her voice tender. This is a gift from your sister. I froze for a moment before studying the hairpin and offering a faint smile of thanks. Little did I know that what adorned Lady Li's hair in my past life would now grace my own in this one. Alas! Whatever she gives me, I shall make her take back. With that thought, I picked up my brush and wrote a letter to father. The next day, I moved into the Hawthorn Pavilion. Yet soon after, I learned that Shouju had been negligent in her duties and had been sent to the imperial clan office by Hua Qinrui. Hua Qinrui claimed that Shouju had misread the time that night, giving me the wrong notification, which led to my encounter with the emperor. She insisted she had no intention of using me to secure her favor. It was all an accident. By the time she returned, the deed was done. Daring not to disturb me, she thought it might be for the best and stayed away. Hearing this, I gently furrowed my brow. For in my past life, while I suffered torment in the imperial household department, Shouju was the only one who visited me, bringing food. But later, Hua Qinrui gave Shouju to the chief eunuch, Li Rui, as his consort. Then she was tortured to death. I'd hoped to save her this lifetime, yet she'd met trouble at this very moment. And as I recall, Shouju's family held no influence. Worst of all, her gentle, soft-spoken nature paired with an adorable, beautiful face. Those people would never spare her. With this thought, I exchanged a few polite words with Hua Qinrui before returning to the palace. I must repay Shouju's kindness. But now, with Hua Qinrui watching my every move, going directly to aid someone who harmed me would be uncharacteristic. It might even make Hua Qinrui suspect a rift between us. Who would have thought that while I pondered my options? The call of a cuckoo echoed through the dead of night. In the dead of winter, where could a cuckoo come from? Only Consort Yen had ever used the signal when she was having an affair with a guard. But the timing didn't add up. With that thought, I stepped outside and followed the sound. No matter what, I had to go see. If I could truly catch the consort red-handed, perhaps I could rescue Shouju. Sure enough, by the lotus pond, Consort Yen sat alone in the water pavilion. Leaning against the railing, she lazily tossed fish food into the water. She was breathtakingly beautiful, bathed in moonlight, like a demonic beauty. I frowned, because she was the only one in the pavilion, and she looked toward my hiding spot. My heart skipped a beat, but unexpectedly, she smiled sweetly and uttered words that shocked me even more. She said, "Hua Jian, so you've reincarnated too." In that instant, my pupils involuntarily contracted. All the events that followed, all the people I'd encountered, flashed through my mind. I began weighing, sifting, and discerning, trying to figure out how to preserve the plans I'd made in my previous life. Or perhaps, was there a way to turn enemy into ally? But the thought of how I had ruined her beauty in my past life made me feel utterly doomed. Yet something felt off. If Consort Yen had also been reborn, why would she need to confront me like this? Based on my experience of scheming against her in my past life, she could have quietly eliminated both me and Hua Qianrui by exploiting information gaps. Unless she needed me? The thought froze my escape attempt. I watched only as she glided toward me with lotus-like steps. Even her wide cloak couldn't conceal the alluring grace of her gait. In that instant, only two words echoed in my mind: devilishly charming. Yet this very demon lifted my chin and purred. I'll help you rescue that girl from the Imperial clan office. You help me escape the palace to be with my lover. How about it? Moonlight spilled across the snowy ground. Yet inexplicably, her eyes shimmered more radiantly than the moonlight itself. It took me a moment to register. Then my eyes widened in disbelief. Say that again? I refused to accept this reason. My mind felt foggy. More shocking than her outrageous demand to be smuggled out of the palace was the fact she sought freedom for a man. Wait. Wasn't she determined to become empress in her past life? What's that look on your face? She pinched my cheek lazily. I'm tired of these palace walls. I've grown weary of the emperor. Can't I try someone new? Me. Fine. My voice sounded strange as she held my face. She withdrew her hand proudly. All right. Then it's settled. She clapped her hands, her eyes brimming with brightness and anticipation. I opened my mouth, but in the end could only watch her retreating figure grow smaller and smaller. I couldn't tell if I was seeing things, but it seemed like she pulled a man out of the shadows. Hand in hand, they walked around the corner. In my memory, Consort Yen Hehuan was a coquettish, flamboyant, and extremely ambitious woman. How could she now? Never mind. It felt like a dream. I turned and headed back to my pavilion. The next day, Consort Yen indeed rescued Shiju, placing her by her side as a second-class palace maid. She also had several eunuchs from the Imperial clan office executed outright. Those men had been the ones who tormented me most cruelly in my past life. To Hua Qianrui, this was a public humiliation. Enraged, she smashed her teacup. I said nothing, turning to leave and letting her rage alone. After all, His Majesty had summoned me. I had to prepare. No time. That night, the Emperor came to my chambers once more. I coyly tossed the spring paintings album he'd ordered for me back into his embrace. My gaze accusing. He pulled me close, asking if I'd learned. I whispered softly, I haven't. He burst into laughter, saying he didn't believe me, and carried me onto the bed. Gradually, the Emperor grew ever more fond of me, showering me with all manner of gifts. He visited me 7 or 8 times each month. Yet at the same time, his attitude toward Hua Qianrui remained cold, even growing more openly disdainful. Finally, after paying her respects, Hua Qianrui kept me behind and said sadly, Hua Jian, what on earth did you say to the Emperor? She looked at me, her eyes soft and vulnerable. I merely tilted my head at her, utterly bewildered. Sister, what are you talking about? I looked utterly innocent. Her lips trembled, her eyes instantly reddening. Jianer, you've served him for so long. Yet Yen Hehuan never troubled you. And before that, I inexplicably consumed large quantities of cold-natured medicine. Could it be? You betrayed me long ago. Her voice broke as she sobbed. It's okay. Tell me the truth. Sister can forgive you this once. I just don't want you to stray further down the wrong path. Her grief deepened with each word, and I held her, utterly at a loss. Yet inside, I found it amusing. When had she ever addressed me as I while speaking to me? And among the consorts, who didn't know today was His Majesty's day off? Fool. If she wished to die, I would grant her that wish. With that thought, I stepped back half a pace, no longer supporting her. My eyes filled with feigned hurt. Forgive me, sister. Though I don't know what you want me to do. I've already forgiven you for scheming to have me serve the emperor in bed to secure your favor. For the emperor is truly kind, and to earn his affection is my honor. Moreover, these past days I've worked tirelessly to speak well of you before him. But if you claim someone bullied you again, forcing me to harm another's child, I cannot do it. That would betray his majesty and wrong those innocent souls. I truly cannot. With that, I knelt and bowed my head, tears welling in my eyes as I looked at her. Hua Qianrui was stunned, her voice cracking with panic. Hua Jian, what are you saying? When did this palace ever order you to harm anyone? I froze for a moment, then gritted my teeth. My voice choked with emotion. Yes, I did it all. Should the truth ever come out, I will take full responsibility. I do this to repay your life-saving kindness. Sister, I only beg you, please stop forcing me to harm others. Wretch! Her eyes blazed crimson as she lashed out at me. I closed my eyes tightly. The expected slap never landed. Terrified, I opened my eyes to see the emperor's dark face gripping Hua Qianrui's wrist. Empress, he said coldly. This charade has gone on long enough. How much longer must it continue? Hua Qianrui's face turned ashen. Your Majesty. It's not like that. She's lying and framing me. Enough! The emperor roared. I was summoned by you. And Jian'er was summoned by you. Does she possess divine powers to foresee my presence behind the screen? You are beyond redemption, hypocritical and revolting. And you dared lecture me daily on being a wise ruler? Venomous woman! He kicked Hua Qianrui away as she clung to his leg. Hua Qianrui immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, revealing the force of the blow. But I felt no pity. After all, in my past life, I'd been kicked so hard my ribs shattered, and no one lifted a finger. Of course, letting her kick someone to death wouldn't do, that'd be too easy for her. Sister! I rushed forward, shielding her with my body. The emperor's second kick nearly landed on me, but he held back. Seeing this, I urgently pleaded, Your Majesty. Sister only acted out of fear for her position, deprived of your favor and unable to bear children. She feared her status as consort would be unstable. Do not blame her. Blame me instead. I bowed my head heavily, my forehead immediately swelling red. As I prepared to bow again, the emperor pulled me up, embracing me tenderly. Fool! He murmured. She never saved you. She's the one who's always harmed you. What? That question escaped both Hua Qianrui and me. Only hers was filled with terror. Mine was pure joy. The emperor revealed everything to me. After all, his nature was domineering and forceful. Whether in the court or the harem, he investigated every concubine who entered the palace. And I, a palace maid who often spoke for the empress yet suffered punishment, had piqued his slight curiosity. A casual command, and records were promptly delivered. This was also one reason he despised the empress. Such dark tactics in managing subordinates. Yet she daily urged him to be a wise ruler? Ridiculous. Thus, the more I spoke well of the empress to the emperor, the more he cherished my sincerity. This sincerity was what he craved most in the treacherous harem. Originally, he hadn't intended to tell me, after all. He would never allow Hua Qianrui to harm me. But who could have foreseen that Hua Qianrui would scheme against me again today? Thus, he finally couldn't hold back, revealing both the cause of my mother's death and the reason behind my humiliation. I looked at him, tears slipping uncontrollably down my cheeks. This time, his heart truly ached. Heartbroken over my misplaced trust in my past life, the emperor gently wiped away my tears. Refusing to even glance at Hua Qianrui, he lifted my limp body and carried me back to my chambers. Closing my eyes, I suddenly felt a twinge of pain in my abdomen, The emperor summoned the imperial physician, who discovered I was pregnant. Just 1 month along. The emperor was overjoyed, immediately granting me the title of consort. After a moment's thought, he ordered Hua Qinrui banished to the cold palace. I opened my mouth, met his gaze, but did not plead for her. He seemed satisfied, then produced the letter I had once sent to my father. This is the letter you sent home. I intercepted it. He said, taking my hand. In your letter, you asked your father to seek a doctor specializing in infertility and pleaded with him not to abandon your elder sister. Yet you made no mention of my affection for you. Could it be you feared your father might forsake Hua Qinrui? Your Majesty. I choked back tears and clung to him. Your humble servant did not know it would be like this. He gently patted my back. His voice tender, it's all right. I will protect you from now on and give you the very best. I wept with emotion. He softly kissed away my tears, lulling me to sleep before slowly departing. The door closed. I opened my eyes. The emperor's skill in commanding his subjects truly surpassed my elder sister's. One becomes a deity by inflicting suffering. Though effective, such methods always reveal their flaws. The other watches from afar, waiting until the target is driven to the brink by the gods before stepping in to save them. Right before their eyes, they slay the deity and avenge the victim, becoming an even stronger pillar of support, without a trace. Thinking of this, I gently stroked my belly, gazing at the white gauze before me. In my past life, Hua Qianrui had also schemed to have me serve the emperor. I had fiercely refused, even scratching the emperor's neck, because I detested men approaching me. Even a touch made me struggle uncontrollably. After that incident, the emperor never visited the central palace again. With consort Yan's face disfigured, he turned his favor to the daughter of the Minister of Rites. 5 years after my death, Hua Qianrui passed away from illness. That minister's daughter became the new empress. I still remember Hua Qianrui's bewilderment when she died. She couldn't understand why the emperor would kill her when she was so perfect. But I knew. Because the emperor didn't need a queen as delicate as a chrysanthemum. He needed a queen who could manage the harem and remain utterly loyal. That's why he chose me in the first place. Me, the one who, out of gratitude for saving her life, would harm anyone and had the ability to keep Hua Qianrui pure and untouched. Alas, I loathed even his touch. And he wasn't irreplaceable. So he discarded me. Thinking of this, my lips curled into a smile. Good. Very good. Mutual exploitation. Mutual dependence, for me. It's the most fitting arrangement. The harem? What love is there? I burst into uncontrollable laughter, covering my mouth tightly with the quilt. Perfect. Sister, I'm sending you to hell. What should I do? Let your father, the one who sent you to the palace, kill you. Ha 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 ha. Hua Qianrui plotted against concubines, murdered offspring, abused private justice. All her crimes were exposed, some I hadn't even known about. The emperor flew into a rage, berating father right in court. Father begged for mercy, but his majesty declared I suited his desires perfectly. The next day, father pleaded with the emperor to grant Hua Qianrui death. Weeping bitterly over our family's misfortune, the emperor relented and refrained from further punishment. Hearing the emperor recount this to me, I dug my fingernails into my palm to stifle my laughter. Indeed, that cold-hearted father remained unchanged. Useful. He favors, useless. He discards. Jenner, what are your thoughts on your elder sister being granted death? His Majesty's tone was gentle as he took my hand into his, playing with it and softly tracing the healed scars. I knew this was his final test for me. Your Majesty, might you spare my elder sister's life? His movements halted. He lifted his gaze to meet mine. His eyes cold yet his lips curved in a smile. Oh, you still plead for her? His tone grew distant. Yet my smile remained gentle. Yes, Your Majesty. I endured so much suffering in the palace because of her. Unless I repay my elder sister, I cannot rest easy. Why not send her to the Imperial Household Department to clean chamber pots? We can announce her death to the outside world. What do you think? As I spoke, I winked at the Emperor. I knew this chapter was called Repaying Malice with Virtue. He certainly didn't care for such people. Of course, I still had to play along. So, I clasped the Emperor's hand anxiously. My eyes filled with concern. Your Majesty, do you think this servant is too cruel? No, he murmured, his Adam's apple bobbing as he gently cupped my face. I like it very much. Then we shall do as you say. The Empress committed a grave offense and was granted death. I, however, was elevated to imperial consort, granted residence in the Zhaohua Palace, and tasked with overseeing the 6 palaces. Everyone knew this palace was reserved for the future empress. For a time, I was unrivaled in prominence. Naturally, I understood my responsibilities. I governed the harem with meticulous order, severely punished those who embezzled from the consorts or administered private punishments, and established clear regulations. For instance, what rank one would hold upon entering the palace, or how long one must serve before advancing in rank, and how many offspring were required to attain a certain rank. Within 3 months, the harem ran like clockwork. No one disturbed the emperor during his busy periods, and no consort dared scheme under my watch. Several consorts even conceived. 6 months later, my son was born, the emperor's legitimate firstborn. Overjoyed, the emperor crowned me empress and named our son Xinchangyi, meaning radiant brilliance. Fortunately, the surrogate I had prepared remained unused. For this child, a son was non-negotiable. I had to become empress. Alas, Consort Yen lost her child. And then, during my delivery, a fire swept through the palace, claiming her life. The investigation revealed the culprit was the chief eunuch who had shared meals with Shouju in my previous life. His adopted son, serving in the imperial clan office, had been beaten to death by Consort Yen a year prior. Holding a grudge, he set the fire. The emperor flew into a rage and had him executed by slow slicing. And me, what did I have to do with it? I wasn't close to Consort Yen. Beyond the daily greetings, we had little interaction. So I simply expressed my regret, and life went on as before. But to show magnanimity, I brought Shouju to my side. I gave her a generous dowry and married her off to her childhood sweetheart. Her little face glowed with happiness. I didn't understand. Only occasionally would I gaze toward the south, wondering what it felt like to love someone. Was it truly worth abandoning all the power and privilege within the palace? As the celebration for Changyi's 100-day birthday concluded, a ragged palace maid rushed before me. I raised an eyebrow. Why? If it isn't my noble and distinguished elder sister? Her eyes now blazed with hatred as she screamed, "No! I am the Empress! You should be in the Imperial Ancestral Temple. Why is this happening? Why?" Before she could finish, my chief eunuch struck her down with a backhand, roaring, "Where did this madwoman come from?" Throughout it all, I remained seated in my palanquin, observing from above without uttering a word. Because she was unworthy. I am the Empress. I am. Let me go. Hua Qianrui was dragged away, screaming, her exposed skin already marked with numerous bruises. My chief eunuch frowned at me, seeking my instructions. I curved my lips slightly. Mad women can be quite entertaining at times. Don't you think? He instantly understood my meaning and stepped forward. Hey! Hey! Go easy on her, don't kill her outright. Take her back to wherever she came from. His voice grew fainter and fainter. My palanquin began its journey. In the distance, lights flickered faintly, beckoning like candle flames. I would soar step by step toward the wick, endure the scorching heat, and reach that brightest point, never to be humiliated by anyone again, until I was reduced to ashes. Side story 1. On the day Chang'e was crowned crown prince, the emperor abdicated, becoming the retired emperor. No choice, Chang'e, following his lead, grew even more domineering, more powerful, even more capable. So the emperor blamed me, saying I taught him that way. Me? Seriously? With a father like that? What kind of rabbit son could he possibly teach? I smiled without speaking. He nervously rubbed his nose. When the emperor invited me to tour Jiangnan, cold sweat broke out on my forehead. But I went anyway. Surely it couldn't be that coincidental that he'd run into the former consort Yan and her little guard? Oh ho! It was that coincidental. The emperor and I were on the boat, they were on the shore. Old married couple they were, happily sharing a skewer of candied hawthorn berries. Together they're nearly 90. How infuriating. Go eat at the mansion. The emperor shot me a puzzled look. I silently lifted my gaze. The sunlight is lovely today. Your Majesty. The emperor, indeed. The sky looks like rain any moment. All right. My bad. After days of sniping at me, His Majesty sought out that young guard. No. The old guard. So there we were, His Majesty, Consort Yen, the old guard, and me, all gathered together. His Majesty and the old guard fished while Consort Yen and I ate pastries. How have you been? I scratched my head. Her expression softened, very well. The next second, her expression changed drastically. Gu Qingshi. Is catching carp all you know how to do? Throw it back in the water. You idiot! With that, she lunged forward, punching and kicking the old guard. The old guard covered his head, begging for mercy. The emperor and I stood by, exchanging bewildered glances. She wasn't like this with me before. I mean, with me. How about we find somewhere else to play? All right. I think that's fine. The emperor and I slipped back onto the boat. That night in bed, I wondered why the emperor wasn't angry. He rolled over. Those officials deceive me daily, I'm used to it. A woman I don't care for? You gave me a reason. So I believed it. Why would I pursue her? I pondered. Don't you feel humiliated? He scoffed. Remember when the flood hit Zhaoqing City during the previous dynasty? Corruption ran rampant. The disaster victims revolted. And in the harem, your dear sister was pretending to be a chaste flower. Barren as she was, she took heavy medicine to conceive a deformed fetus, then caused trouble by aborting it. I had to manage the harem on top of that. Those days nearly drained me dry. Finally, the harem settled down. She was just one woman who didn't love me. I still have over 80 others. Chase her? Chase her? How could that not exhaust me to death? I froze. Too much information. I'd always wondered why Hua Qianrui claimed miscarriage was normal. So it was her who drugged herself and terminated it herself. I was stunned. The emperor abruptly pulled me close, holding me in his arms as he impatiently urged. Sleep. Sleep. His voice carried weariness. I lay in his embrace, lifting my head to look at him with curiosity. Over the years, our relationship had been one of polite respect, with occasional moments of sweetness. But I'd never studied him this closely before, because between us stood our status, our duties, our mutual suspicions and scheming, and over 100 women in the harem. Yet now, it was just us. I looked at him. He was already 52, his body slightly paunchy, his beard graying. Over these past 20-odd years, I couldn't pinpoint when it happened, but I no longer felt aversion toward him. I'd even borne him 2 more daughters and a son. I blinked. My gaze fell on my hand, resting unconsciously on his chest. It felt warm. "What are you looking at?" He opened his eyes, filled with confusion. I looked up. "Do you know what it feels like to be in love?" He was silent for a moment. "Hua Jian, you are 43 now." I fell silent. Sleep. With that, he covered my eyes. Only after I fell asleep did he whisper softly, "I couldn't know before. But now, I think I do." After speaking, he gently kissed the top of my head. And though my eyes were closed, I held him tighter. Side story 2. Ever since my sister eloped and was killed, I understood that men in this world are fickle, power and status are the only true constants. So when I rejected my childhood friend Gu Qing, I resolutely entered the palace. He said he would wait for me forever. I laughed. Wait for me? I didn't believe such nonsense. Though his youthful features and delicate face stirred something in me. What did it matter? Beauty fades. And so does love, that applies to men too. So I entered the palace and, relying on my beauty, became the emperor's favored concubine. Yet I knew his favor held no love. His gaze told me so. I'd been loved before, I knew the difference. But when my face was disfigured, I experienced the coldness of others abandoning me. I petitioned to be exiled to the cold palace. Without beauty, I still had wealth. I am the daughter of an imperial merchant. Hua Qianrui, trying to appear magnanimous, often sent me tonics. How disgusting. Someone as hypocritical and foolish as her? I could dispose of 10 like her. If it weren't for Hua Jian. Damn it. Why was Hua Jian so loyal? She was just a legitimate elder sister. Did she save her life? Yet a year later, Hua Jian was sent to the imperial household department. She suffered terribly there. But what's that to me? She ruined my face. Hearing of her death, I felt only boredom. Life has lost all meaning. All that splendor was fleeting, nothing remains. Lost in these thoughts, I leaned back on the soft couch, sighing as I nibbled on chilled fruit. So boring. Little did I expect Gu Qingshi would actually come looking for me. But I remember, wasn't he a scholar? Staring at the guard grinning dumbly before me. I froze. You abandoned your studies for martial arts? Yep. Your father didn't kill you? Nope. Heh heh. Just disowned me. Madman. I stared at him, tears inexplicably welling in my eyes. I felt a pang of emotion. I grabbed his hand. Those once fair, slender fingers now had thickened knuckles, covered in calluses. His body must bear countless wounds. Ah. Don't cry. Gu Qingshi flushed crimson with panic. He pulled his hand back, wanting to wipe my tears but hesitating. I kicked him squarely in the leg, then stumbled backward myself, landing on my backside. In that instant, we both froze. He stared at me. I stared at him. Then, with an ouch, he collapsed backward, landing on his own backside. I couldn't cry anymore. He was completely insane. I sighed, lifting my veil to reveal a large scar stretching from my chin to the outer corner of my eye. And you still like me like this? He froze, his eyes slowly reddening. He gently stroked my face and began to cry. Does it hurt? I froze, lowering my gaze. It doesn't hurt anymore. Life became much more interesting after Gu Qingshi came along. Every day, he'd catch birds to amuse me and even learn to tell stories, entertaining me with his tales. The way he did it was hilarious. I wanted to sleep with him, but I dared not. All right. 2 years late. But I did it. Strange though, it felt chilly all around. Could it be ghosts? Another year of sneaking around. Then we got caught. Never imagined Hua Qianrui was still watching me. She even said if Gu Qingshi claimed this ugly monster seduced him, she'd let him go. I stared at Gu Qingshi's downcast face and urged him to speak up. At least save one of us. But instead, he lifted his head and snapped at Hua Qianrui, "You're the ugly one. You're the most hideous, disgusting creature in the world. I forced you into that union. What nonsense are you spouting? You ugly monster?" Hua Qianrui's face twisted into a hideous grimace of rage. Mine did too. As I screamed at Gu Qingshi, "Are you out of your mind?" But he just whined. "I'm only telling the truth." I was speechless. In that moment, I regretted it all. Why did I enter the palace? Why did I reject him? Why? Why? But I could only watch helplessly as they ripped out his tongue, broke his limbs, and threw him into the flames. From start to finish, he never uttered a sound. Only his eyes told me he was fine, begging me not to worry. Idiot. I was worried. I remember how he'd cry for hours as a child when a splinter got stuck in his skin. I remember how much he dreaded pain. Idiot. I loved him too. My body numb, I was tossed onto the ground, staring blankly at the fire. Only when everyone had left, the moon high in the sky, did I come to my senses and crawl to the edge of the flames. His body was charred black, bones shattered. I embraced his remains, lying amidst the ashes. It's okay. This time, I'll find him. With that thought, I plunged the dagger into my own throat. Blood flowed down my body, yet I felt no pain at all. On the road to the underworld, I would be with him forever and ever. But when I awoke again, I found myself back 3 years prior, and Hua Jian had become imperial consort Zhaoi. In that instant, I curved my lips into a smile. Wonderful. Gu Qingshi, I've come for you. The end.